I completely agree with that. And we're going to transition now into your coaching. Like you've started coaching while still playing the PGA Tour, which is pretty amazing. But I teach this lady who's like a holistic health coach, right? She's got amazing sense of feel. And she just came for 5 lessons. On the 5th lesson, so let's go talk about your putting. We get to the putting green and she just grabs my putter out of my bag. I think I might have handed it to her. And I just threw 3 balls, just getting the putting stuff sorted, the mirror, the alignment aids. And she just stands up, she grabs my putter, split-handed grip, 30-footer right to left at my golf course at the Link Shell Cove. She rolls the first one to like 3-4 feet from 30 feet, right? Never picked a putter up in her life. But it was just short. So the next one, she hits it about 2 foot past. And then the next one, she noticed that and she reacted to that. And I think it was about the same. And I walked over there, split-handed, complete feel. Alignments are everywhere. Her feet are pointing off in funky town like duck feet or whatever. And I sat there and thought to myself, she's going to get worse in this putting lesson. She is going to get worse. And I said to her at the start, I said, you are putting now as good as any scratch golfer I've ever seen on those 3 30-footer putts you hit. And as soon as I got technically minded over her putting and showing her, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, all of a sudden her feel went and she was completely all over the place, and I had to kind of get back to that reactionary phase that you were talking about there. And I've got a few questions about your putting and your kind of coaching. How many people do you think are overthinking technically when they talk to you about getting some help with their putting?
Oh, a vast majority. And that's, one of the jobs I found, entering the coaching world here in the last sort of 9 months. I chatted to people. I was coached by Colin Swatton. And so I coached, Swatto coached Jason Day for years. I called him up and chatted to him about it. One of the things I didn't want to do was it's a trap for players who've played all their life. They assume they're going to be good at it. And I didn't want to do that. And the other thing I didn't want to assume was that I knew everything. I don't know everything. So when I get students sometimes now, my challenge is how much information do I give? Because if I had someone like that, the lesson might be, hey, let's do some drills, right? That let's see how we go from 5 feet, 7 feet. And if they're rolling the ball and the tempo of the putter, kind of like I try and really isolate the movement of the putter and just don't worry about the body for a minute, because sometimes the body can be doing funky stuff, but the putter moves great, right? And that's what matters. So, and you're right, you can as a coach, I've done it where, out of the gate here a little bit where you want it to look okay and you wonder how that's going to be long-term. But some of it is also with a learning golfer. It can be just about, there's supposed to be some joy in this game too, right? There's supposed to be some parts of this where you're not thinking about how you did it. You just went and did it.
Yeah.
And so, it's challenging though, because you're getting that marriage between how much information do I give here, because they're paying you for information and you feel like you got to give it to them. Yes. And so I definitely have some people though, the vast majority of people who are massively overthinking and not very athletic about how they go about it. When I mean athletic, just freedom to, moving a putter 12 inches, which is, pretty standard, 4 to 8 to 12 inches, shouldn't be that hard. Right. It should have a flow and a rhythm to it that you're comfortable with, whether it's fast or slow. There's ways I go about it. I hope that can help you, help people. I do a lot of stuff eyes closed, a lot of stuff where, I might even take the ball away. I've plenty of nothing that I don't think any coaches have ever thought of, but it's just trying to free it up for people.
And that I love that, right? And you talk about that information kind of overload, right? Early on in my career, I wanted to offer as much value as possible, and I'd be just overcoaching students and just telling them everything that I know. And I think in today's society, the way that we live, right, we've got Dr. Google. If you've got something wrong with your air conditioner, you can Google it and you can find out the ins and outs of the air conditioner issues before the air conditioner guy gets here. So back in the day, right, when you started 1999, you probably had a Golf Digest book and everything that you consumed was from Dale Lynch. That's your information. That was your information source, essentially. Right. And a little bit of what the other guys were telling you. And then when they get to a putting lesson with Greg Chalmers, top three best putter in the world since strokes game putting have come in. They're expecting all these, crazy information and statistics and all these tricks and stuff like that. But what you're saying is that, you know, the less is the best when you've started your coaching. Like it's about.
I'm trying my best to keep it as simple as possible, because it's been, and I can go complicated if you want, but I'm trying to keep it for the student as pretty simple as possible. And you walk out with a sort of a one or two things that you need to concentrate on right now, but understanding why we're doing that, you know, is what I want when I'm on the receiving end as a student. Well, why am I doing this? And if I don't understand that, it's not going to work. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I enjoy it. I really am enjoying, particularly the online side of things through Skillist. You know, we spoke a little bit prior to this, but I really enjoy. I found the online community very invested in improving. And, you know, if I wasn't playing as much as I am at the moment, but I'm going to slow down here in the winter over here. And I'm looking to, you know, hopefully grow that business a little bit, because I think I can help some people and they can putt a little better. So that'd be great.
And that's, you know, and then, so you've now jumped on the Skillist app. So I'm a Skillist app online coach as well, and you are too. So, and you know, we were talking previously about how much we love the students that we get through online coaching, because they are typically a golf nerd, they're growth mindset type of people, and they want to learn, right? They want to learn. So sometimes they want a lot of information too, but you got to kind of make sure. I say to most of them, you can't give me too much information, but I can give you too much information. That's generally one of the best things to say. And I think for you, being a putting coach now on there, that's, people have got to see that you're doing that from your heart, right? Like Greg Chalmers does not need to be giving putting lessons. Would that be correct?
Right. I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's sort of something out of love. Yeah, there's part of it is I've reached, you know, I'm 48 and a half. I do have part of me that is like, hey, I've been really lucky to get all of this out of the game. If I've got any information I can pass on to help someone enjoy it, I get joy out of that myself. I do really love getting, hey man, I just shot my lowest, blah, 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 or I did this, I did. That's a drug. The first time I got that, I was like, oh wow, that was pretty cool. From a coaching standpoint, right? And I wasn't ready for that. I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much I'd enjoy that. And I love people who want to listen and learn and just sort of go and bounce and challenge me a little bit, like in terms of, hey, what about this? And then I've got to learn about that, or it makes me think. It keeps me going, because I'd have no desire to just sit around and do nothing. So it just gives me busy and gets me doing stuff that I enjoy doing. So I've really, I'm into it. I really enjoy it, and I can do it on the road. I just did 3 lessons before this pod tonight. You know, like just in my room here, because I've got a few people that needed help. So I'm like, let's do it. So
what does a putting lesson online kind of look like? So do you have subscribers, or are they one-off type of lessons?
I haven't done the subscriber thing yet, because I didn't think it'd be fair to people at the moment with my travel schedule. I can't really commit to full time. And I didn't want to be, you know, doing that while I'm trying to concentrate on playing. So it's one-offs at the moment, and it's only 100. I think it's $100 to me, and 115 I think total, I guess, is what I charge. I don't charge. It's pretty cheap, to be honest.
You're telling me that students out there can get a golf lesson from the top 3 statistically best putter in the last 20 years for $100.
Yeah, 100 US. Yep, yeah, about that. So it's not super expensive. I think it's, and there's and part of the problem I'm having at the moment is that and this is from a business standpoint, I'm fixing a lot of people too quickly. Sorry to say, right? But anyway, I really enjoy it though, because what I do is I get people to send me 3 videos, just, you know, simple stuff, down the line, face on, and then ground level down the line. And then we can get into more. I have one student who he's bought 2 lessons. He's a very good putter anyway. And I said, mate, what are we? And we just did a 20-minute chat, Zoom chat, like 30 or 30-minute chat about putting and about attitude and about mental stuff and what do I think about. And I challenge him a little bit about what he's doing, going through. But most of it, and then once I get the videos, I then start firing questions about, okay, what are you looking for? What do you need? What do you struggle with? I have a list of things I sort of send through to sort of chat about it. And then we get into the technique. And then I hopefully I can sort of create a pathway for them to, okay, send me I usually always want to get the follow-up to make sure they're doing well. And some of that follow-up sometimes can go on for quite a bit. You know, so, and then hopefully once you've got it, you're good to go, and you can, you know, reach out again in a few months if you want to keep going.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
So tell me about the putting, right? I guess there's two things that we talk about a lot, which is line and distance control, right? Speed control and line. Do you put more value on one or the other?
No, speed more than line.
Yeah.
On breaking putts, I would say. Speed control is the key, because on a big breaking putt from 10 feet that, let's say, has on the high speed side 1.5 feet of break, but on the low speed side it'd go out about 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
So you might have you've got this 18-inch window outside the hole, so that where you start it isn't as important as how hard you hit it.
Yeah.
Is my take. Straight putts, they have to be start on line, right? But you have to get it exactly right. But I am we've got these ramps now. You roll the ball down there, and it tells you, and I've done it with students. I'll be like, hey, by the way, you've got this on the high side, you've got this big window you can hit it in, and it's always feeding towards a target. If we get that speed, if you happen to hit it too soft, it's still going towards the target if you're on the high side. So still a chance. So I've always been a chronic overreader in my career, and I'm a feeder into the hole. I don't smash them in. So that's something that I think once students start to learn that, just educate themselves a little bit about how speed and line works, because a lot of them think there's only one option.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I'm like, no, there's lots of options. See, watch me do this. And I roll it down the ramp, different speeds. And they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea. So yeah.
What you're talking about, that ramp, it's kind of like a golf ball sized ramp, and it's kind of
it's like
it's about a foot in the air or whatnot, and it just gives you a true roll on the green.
Yes,
right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So
speed by where you put it on the ramp.
Yeah. So I'll get out there and I'll do clinics, and I'll be, here's a 10-footer with anywhere from 1.5 feet to 3 feet of break. Wow. And I put 2 tees out there, one on the high speed side where I've whipped it up the top of the ramp, and one on the really low speed side. And I'll put 2 tees that wide, and I'll say, okay, let's come and read this and tell me where in that window you feel most comfortable looking and aiming.
Okay.
And that gives them start to learn their tendencies, and start to learn, because my tendency is on the push putt side, the left to right breakers for me, I aim very high, and I die them in the hole. On the right to left side, I aim a hair lower, and I tend to have to fight to keep it above the hole. Now, I've done this a long time, so I know how to adjust. But a lot of them tend to aim. I've noticed a lot of amateurs tend to aim very low, right? They aim they're always aiming on the low side, the high speed low side. So you end up with these. They get lower quicker and further away from the hole quicker.
They just dive away.
Yeah. So now your putt's picking it. You've at its fastest point, it's actually going away from the hole. Meaning it's getting under the hole quicker and going further away from the hole, versus me. I'm on the high side all the time, always moving towards the target. Chances of 2 putting is better, or 3. It's just general physics that just makes it easier. And
I think as well, when people talk about, so what you're talking about there is that like the left to righters and the right to lefters, where some people, let's just say for the right-handed golfer, which I think majority, 10 are. I think as well, people when they putt across their body, so that's the left to righter for the right-handed golfer, can struggle to get that one high enough. Is that what you're saying? And the right to left, they can generally, because they're pushing it away from them, that ball can roll in. Generally, they give that enough break, but the left to righter, there's not enough break.
Right. Because you think about the path of the putter, and it's much easier to push it up there for most of us to push against break than it is as the park that's hopefully arcing and the faces coming from open to the start line, not open to playing, but it's coming in, and you've got to it's not instinctive to pull it against it, right? But anyway,
I putted my best when I was pushing the ball. So I had my best putting like a year or two when I felt like I couldn't miss. I had no line on the golf ball. I had my feet a little left, and I was just hitting little pushes and shoving it everywhere. And my friends were giving me a hard time, but I was always getting it in. But I feel like as well, that was when I went back to my feel, and then I got the line on the ball, lined up straight, and just lost my putting completely. But tell me about when people get to a short putt, right, Greg? You'll hear people talk about smashing it in, trying to take the break out of it. What's the mindset, say around a 3 to 4 footer, you'll see a lot of amateur golfers believe that increasing the speed is a good option because it takes the break out. Is that how you putt, or do you still kind of maintain the same speed, or is it situational? Am I asking you a question here where it's more situational?
No. So here's the thing. I have never once in my life thought about how hard I'm going to hit it.
Wow.
I let that happen, right? I let my instincts decide. So let's say you have a putt that's a left edge putt, right? For a right-hander, left edge putt. And I'm using my technique where I just walk in and go, right? Where I walk in, I put my putter behind the ball. I don't look where I'm aiming. I look what my eyes go to where I want the ball to start.
Okay.
And if I roll my eyes down and I instinctively will get a feeling for, hey, that's too far left or that's too far right, I let my instincts hit it softer or harder based on that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very instinctive. So, and you could do it with students. You can do it yourself. So pick a putt that's left edge. Okay, aim just outside left edge. You don't have to think about how hard to hit it. You know you've got to hit it softer.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I do. I just let it happen, right? I let my instincts say, hey, you're aiming high here. This all happens very quickly, by the way. You're aiming a little high. Ooh, I guess I'm going to hit it softer then.
I agree.
Right? So that's the way it happens. So I don't teach speed to people very often. If, I've had a lot of people, how far do I take it back? And I say, I don't know. How hard do you want to hit it? Right? How do I teach you that? Because the conditions are going to change. You're going to go to different places, grasses. I mean, I can't teach you how far to take it back. It's like, how long's a piece of string? Right?
Yeah. I love that. There's so much in what you said, Dan. I think a lot of people will really enjoy listening to that because there is no right or wrong, right? On how to do that. And I think what we spoke about previously, right, about your mindset is you want to make sure that you're letting the student know that you want them to play within themselves. You don't want to all of a sudden say, if they're a dribbler of the ball, so the ball just rolls in the hole at the front edge, and all of a sudden you're saying, hang on, you're supposed to be 16 inches past from 4 feet. And all of a sudden you're changing their whole mindset, their tempo, their length of backstroke. So you're going away so far away from their feel because you think that that's how it's supposed to happen. Where we watch on the PGA Tour a lot. Like I watch the PGA Tour a lot and everyone listening watches you guys play, and you all do it differently. Like what about Jordan Spieth? Jordan Spieth's putting, right? When he had that, he was red hot there for what could we say 5-6 years potentially. I'm not too sure how it's to like now, but I think it's actually letting him down now. Did you play with him at all during that time when he was putting really well?
I played with him as a rookie, and I thought, wow, this guy's amazing with that part of the game. He was very good. We played together, and he actually he's done a podcast. A funny story, just quickly. He did a podcast on Colt Knost Subpar podcast, and they asked if you had a 10-footer for your life, who do you want to putt it? And he said, I want on the left to right side, I want Greg Chalmers. On the right to left side, I want Jason Day.
Wow.
So he picked a lefty, both of us, left-hander, right-hander to putt for him. I'm like, I saw him in the locker room one time. I said, dude, you should just pick yourself. You'll be fine. It's like, he's very good at it. But yeah, he's, again, just another, I would never tell. I mean, Jordan's got kind of a quirky technique, I think, in that he almost, he's one of the few that almost take it back just as fast. Most of us build in tempo. He takes it back quite quick.
Yeah.
And then it almost looks decel into the ball a little bit, but I haven't seen him on any, putting stroke analysis stuff, Sand Putt Lab or anything like that. I'm not sure what the numbers say. But yeah, very good at it. And I would never, I don't know. He doesn't look very, I'm a big believer in stable lower half, and he doesn't look very stable. The last times I've seen him miss a few short ones, his right knee's moving quite a bit for 3 feet. I like if you stabilize the lower half and shut that down, particularly as the greens have gotten so much faster in the last 20 years, 30 years, or even longer, you can then feel the shoulders rock more and the big muscles work better. In my opinion, the putter flows better. And you look at a lot of the people, the best are backhanders, and the ladies are very good. They're very stable. Tiger's very stable. There's a lot of guys now who've moved more into that world as they become, stronger and stronger, things like that. But that'd be one thing. But yeah, it's it's horses for courses. You know, you got to find that thing that, you know, because it's such a fine line between a putt going in and not going in, right?
So yeah, but when you're talking there about the lower body staying stable, so you're talking about just obviously from the belt line down, trying to keep those legs as stable, and that's something that is very recognizable with your putting, Greg. Like you can totally see that you are anchoring yourself into the ground essentially. Does that take out variables for the recreational golfer? Does that take out the variables of, you know, less movement around? If they can stabilize that, it won't influence their upper body as much and their club path as much by keeping their feet anchored into the ground.
That's my experience has been, if I can take that part out, it can get the bits moving that I want moving, which essentially I want big muscles controlling it, basically shoulders, hands, arms and hands. But really I want the putter just going along for the ride with that, you know, the shoulders and the triangle of the arms a little bit. I don't mind people who putt great with like lots of hands. If you putt great with it, go ahead and use your hands. The vast majority of people I'm teaching don't have great hands. So I would never go to a pro, say, who has really great hands and uses them a lot in any part of their game and say, hey, we need to change that. No, you have great hands. Let's use them. So I have a list of like, you know, 5 or 6 things that I like to concentrate on. You know, I think eye line is important. Eyes sitting square, not, you know, we spend our whole golf life tilted. And so I like to make sure, a lot of people with the lines on the balls these days, they tend to say, oh, it feels like I'm pointing right. And I'm like, well, that's because your eyes are crooked, right? It's not because the line's crooked. And so I get people to check that. I then like, you know, there's plenty of different ways to match up the hands and arms. I have short arms, so I let mine just hang pretty straight. But then you get someone like Baden Schaff, for example. He sent me his putting stroke. He looks like he has long arms, and he likes to putt like what, you know, the elbows tucked into the rib cage, and you putt with the forearms attached to, you know, and the hands attached from there. Perfectly fine. All you need to know is you need to get the length of the putter right with the feel that you like. So, because if I try and putt with my elbows in, I need a 36-inch putter. I have a 34-inch putter when I just let my arms hang naturally. Wow. So you've got to get all of that kind of where you want, where you're comfortable, where the student's comfortable. And that comes with either getting a fitting. Online, I can just ask through questions, hey, how long have you been using this? And you can typically tell by how athletic / uncomfortable they look. Yeah. My least favorite setup is people who stand way too up, too much flex in their knees and too upright.
Yes.
And they end up with a bent lead arm and a straight trail arm. Yeah. It's my least favorite. And I just like, can we at least get the body, you know, get you bent over and get you in a position where you can look down the line and you look kind of like a golfer.
So that's when what you're talking about there, what you don't like to see is like someone sitting on a stool, you know, that kind of stool look where their butt is kind of level with the ground, where I like to try and stand people up tall, just kind of bounce the knees as little as they can, like a little bit of bounce in there, whatever, because you'll find that you can't flex your knees a couple of degrees. It's like 5 to 10 is the minimum, you know, you can actually do, and then bend forward from your hips. And that's going to get your eyes, like you're saying, more over the golf ball. And it's interesting to talk about the neck tilt, right? I went and got a passport. I'm living in Indonesia at the minute. And I went and got some passports done for the whole family before we came over here. And the guy in the passport office was taking photos of me. And he goes, can you make your neck straight? Can you tilt your head straight? And I didn't recognize at the time, but my neck was tilting to the right? I'm a right-handed golfer. So I spent a lot of time looking down. And I did know whenever I look at when I film instructional content that my cap is never square, right? My eye line is never square. And I told my wife about it, and she goes, and now every time she sees me, she just sees it now. She's stuck seeing that my head is tilted to the side. So my right trap is probably a little bit too tight. You know, I've got to be kind of well balanced out, and maybe that's why I'm a shit putter, Greg.
You get a mirror out and have a look. See if your eyes are square. I worked for quite a while on. I almost feel like, because I'm the opposite, you know, I tilt the other way. I almost feel like I keep my right eye lower. Yeah. You know, like, and that's the kind of feeling. And then there's glasses they sell. There's a glasses they sell that have lines on them, and you can see through the lines in the glasses, you know, your alignment and if your head's square. And it's goofy though. Like, yeah, it's part of those. Like the eyes is obviously the key way to get feedback, and so if you can get those pointing in the right direction, you're half a chance. So it's just one of the things I like to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh, I'd love to talk to you more about putting. Hey, Greg, I'm going to ask you a few questions now, right? Tell me who's your favorite player to have ever played with on tour?
From an experience, probably Tiger, just from the energy. From a personal experience, lots and lots of guys. I like good golfers. I like watching good golf, and I like good people. Modern era, someone like Justin Thomas, phenomenal play. Justin Thomas is a phenomenal player. Both good people. Past eras, Nick Price was unbelievable to play with. Such a pleasure to watch him hit a golf ball, and a great bloke. Been very lucky to have played with, you know, a lot of the game's great players, and you know, with that comes the atmosphere that comes, and that's where Tigers come in. So yeah, you know, I just enjoy good people and good golf, and I get a real kick out of it now, particularly when I see a lot of young guys and they play great, and it's good to see, you know. So I'll be lucky to play with some good players.
So when you see the tee times roll out, right? You see the tee times roll out. Which one's your best buddy? Which one you look at and go, yes, I got the first 2 rounds with this guy today. He's a good friend of yours.
From the Aussie standpoint, if I was playing with Cam Percy or John Sendon, in, you know, kind of my age bracket, good friends at the time, Matt Goggin. Most of the Aussies, honestly, if you saw that name, you saw an Aussie, you'd be like, this would be a good day. There weren't many of us as like, this guy's no good. But on the American side, I'm friends with Fax. I'm old school, so friends with Corey Pavin and guys like that. You know, good buddies. And then I got some other young guys, or guys like Carl Pedersen's a great guy. George McNeil, guys that maybe don't, you know, Tom Gillis. You know, they're fun days, like really fun days. The funniest guy I've ever played with is a guy named Neil Lancaster. Very good ball striker. Got one of the driest sense of humors. He had one of the greatest lines ever. The first event of the season used to be the Sony Open in Hawaii.
Yes.
And Neil hits this little heel cut down the right side. It takes 2 hop right and goes in the right rough. Turns to his caddy and says, "Looks like it's going to be one of those years." He's already ruled the year out.
I love that.
There's lots of guys, and there's some guys that, you know, you get a pairing, you're like, it's like a 2-shot penalty, but they might look at their pairing and go, that's a 2-shot penalty as well. So who knows?
We don't want to name those people because they'll probably end up going viral. We don't want to do that to you, Greg. Hey,
right.
Who's a rat bag on tour? Is anyone a rat bag? Is there anyone who does any locker room antics or anything like that at all, or any Aussies that try to play a few tricks on you at all?
I've done it to a few guys. It's kind of died down over the years. As the more that what you'll find is the more the money goes up, the more the fun goes out. Right.
Interesting.
So that's kind of died down. But yeah, I had Scott Piercy's a buddy of mine, or a friend, you know, and we both graduated out of Corn Ferry one year, and he has the smallest feet in the world.
Does he?
Tiny little things they are. Like what, size 6 or something ridiculous? Size 8, I don't know. It's like a geisha girl. So anyway, I went and bought a baby pair of Nikes, like little kids toddler Nikes. I left them in the box, and I put them in his locker with a note from Nike, because he was sponsored by Nike. And I put a note in his locker. I said, "Hey, you left your shoes. Got a new pair for you here." And he gives me cheek about this. I got big ears, so every time there's a windy day, he said, "You're going to have to take a knee today, aren't you? You're going to be take a breath, man. You're going to fall over with the wind." Anyway, so bit of fun.
No, that's good.
Jared Lyle was the best. God bless him. He was really a lot of fun. He could have I bet him one time that he couldn't swear for 18 holes in the tournament, and it was a wash because he mouthed the F word, but he didn't say it. And I said, I don't know if I'll pay that, but he was a gem.
I was fortunate enough to meet him as well. I think he's
an absolute gem.
Great guy. All right, let's touch base. We're just reminded about something there. You said when the money goes out, the fun goes away. I've watched a couple of tournaments recently where there's a lot of money and it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
LIV
guaranteed
Golf.
money.
LIV Golf.
Yes.
All right, let's spend a few minutes on this. What's your view on it?
I don't know how you compete. It's obviously not a business model. I mean, and I understand where the money's coming from, and I understand there's a lot, certainly in the golf media, the politics of it don't really enjoy them. They don't really enjoy that. I'm not sure how ready golf is to enter that world of political discourse. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah,
it's very, very challenging for the PGA Tour, which, to be honest with you, mate, does a really good job. To how do you compete with $25 million and here's $100 million up front or whatever they're getting, you know?
Yeah.
I know some stories of guys who've been offered, aside just even normal guys, you know, been offered 50% of their net worth or 50% of their earnings as soon as they hit the first tee shot. Some of their challenges are going to be really interesting. There's 7 criteria right now on the World Golf Rankings they don't meet, and all of their players will be outside the top 50 by the end of the year, right? So that is confronting. If you're a past champion in some events and majors, there's 5 Masters past champion. I'm sure they're okay, but that doesn't mean you get in the US Open or the British Open every year.
Yeah.
Or the Open Championship, as we call it now. And there's some guys who aren't exempt into any of them if they're out of the top 50, like a Lee Westwood.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily better for the game. So I want to watch some of these guys play in these big events.
Yeah.
And then, you know, to complete my little rant, all of our best events aren't about money. All of our best events. I watched the US Open 2 weeks ago. I don't care how much they're playing for. Now, if it was the Kmart Open or Walmart Open, I could care less. I would turn it off. You could put all the money in the world up. I'd be like, you won a lot of money. Well done. I care because of the trophy.
Of course.
Right? And there's a lot of golf fans like that. We watch it week in and week out, but there's a lot of golf fans who, hey, I only watch the Masters because of that. We know it matters, right? Yeah. And you can't generate that just through throwing money at it. That comes with history. That comes with, you know, all of the, hey, and the other thing is all the legacy of, hey, remember 20 years ago when so-and-so did this? Well, they've got none of that right now. So they've got a lot of challenges, but they're throwing money at it left and right. The rumor mill's grinding over here on who's going when, and you might see a lot more players go after the playoffs.
I think as well, though, Greg, a little bit in defense, I guess, of the LIV, right? So to create a new business and you want to get, say, for instance, in the rugby league over here, right? If you want to go to a poorer team, they have to pay you more, right? So if you're, you know, part of the Melbourne Storm system, which they're a fantastic system, you know, you play there for less money to win the trophy, or you can go to a lower ranked team like, you know, let's say the Bulldogs at the minute, and you take more money. Where if LIV Golf was starting, if they didn't offer the money, would the tour get going?
No, absolutely not. And they have the money. Like I've looked at the PIF website, the Public Investment Fund, where the Saudi government sovereign fund, and they've got their Vision 2030, because, you know, they want to be like Dubai, I think, in the next sort of 10 years or 12 years, 8 years. And this is part of that. Golf and tourism and golf tourism is part of that. And this is how they want to do it, along with other projects. But some of the stuff they're spending on, mate, it's nothing to drop 20 billion. Some of their projects are 200 to 400 billion dollars. Now, so if for them to say, hey, what's our plan here? I don't know what it is, but they could honestly drop 20 or 30 billion on this over the next 15 years, and that would be nothing, right?
I think, I think as well, though, Greg, like, I think in the long run, it's going to be great for golf. I don't know about that. I just think because, for instance, I got friends of mine who just played. Travis, who's on the podcast, he was on the Asian tour. He got a start in LIV Golf, and it was fantastic. He made more money in that week than he made in the last 3-4 years, right?
Yeah.
But for me, like for the viewer, it's like more golf on TV. That's an advantage. But I think a lot of people maybe have been, and there's more tours for Greg to play. And, you know, Greg growing up in Perth has got another option to maybe make some more coin, you know, where.
Yeah. I'm not anti-LIV. I'm just pointing out some of the challenges. I will tell you this, right? What I love is that the PGA Tour has had quite a monopoly on golf over the last X amount of years, 30 years, whatever. And they've pretty much done whatever they like to do. And you've seen already, and us as players have, well, not me personally, but us as players have benefited from instigations and programs that are being put in place now because a competitor has shown up, right? And so that will only benefit players long term. There's been whispers of a ladies version too, which if that goes ahead, I read an article about that just last weekend. If that goes ahead, particularly the article said it would go ahead at the same level of money. Now, they've been talking about growing the game. That actually grows the game, because then you'll have young girls in schools all around the world going, I just watched that lady win $5 million last week, $20 million this year. I think I'll play golf, please. Right? So that is definitely a way you can grow the game. It's been interesting. You're right. I've spoken to a lot of people, like just people who watch golf, and they don't care about the politics of it. They just want to watch golf.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and it's very fast paced, and you see more players, right? Because they're not restricted by advertising like we are over here. They don't have any. So they just don't need them, right? They could actually get to a place. There's been whispers that we don't need advertising, but we do. If we want TV, they'll pay the TV, right? So put our golf on every Saturday and Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sorry. Can you put it on, and we'll pay you to have no ads? Here's 300 million or X 100 million or whatever it is, right? So that could really change the way golf is, given, because it's the opposite over here. We get all our money from TV contracts. They're the PGA Tour, right? That's going to be...
That's all sports. That's all sports.
Yes.
Rely on sponsorship. Yep. No one is, there's no Saudi-backed thing funding any other tour, like, any sports that I follow. But right. It's interesting to kind of get your insight on that. But it's I'm not a drama guy, but I think this is kind of like watching, for the Australians, like home and away golf styles, like men's drama of what's going on.
Yeah.
Talking about it all. And I've been enjoying reading it. I'm sure you're a little bit a part of the other side of it, but if I see a LIV player, potentially a new LIV player or whatnot, I'm a little bit excited by it.
Oh no, I'm into it. I've been reading everything. I've been and I can tell you, I've been out on tour the last, month or so. And it's like TMZ out here. Like the gossip rumor stuff is just flying about who's going and when they're going and who got paid what and who did this and who did that. So it's, it's like a bunch of little old ladies a little bit, but it's a lot. It's intriguing. It's sort of, it's shaken up things. And I think there's part of it that hopefully some good will come out of it for everyone. I think they can both coexist. It's different. It's a bit like 2020 cricket to me. It's just different. Yeah. It's not everyone's cup of tea. And where it gets interesting is what we're seeing now is does the player, or should the player get released from, can they come back and just play whenever they want? Yeah. I don't know how that'll play out. It'll probably end up in court, to be honest.
I think if it doesn't get I won't talk too much more on it, but I think if it doesn't get any world ranking points, I also get concerned, Greg, if for the tour, I'm a fan of, I don't know the ins and outs of how it all goes down. Just from my viewpoint as a fan, I'm enjoying having this come into play, and friends of mine who get to play it. If they don't get world ranking points and they don't get, these incentives to be able to play in the major championships, I wonder how much, if Brooks Koepka gets up in the morning and he goes, oh, do I really need to go practice today?
Yeah.
I'm guaranteed, $600,000 if I finish 10th or whatever. So I wonder how that affects on the tour. Will the quality of their golf go down to a degree? Not that the viewer will actually probably notice it, but
no, you're right. And look, diluted competition will always lead to that, because if you look at the first two events, the first event particularly, there were about two guys that could win, right? Yeah. Now, we've had a bunch of PGA Tour events when they're full field events with 9 holes to go. There's anywhere from sometimes 8 to 10 guys that could win. They're within 2 shots of the lead.
Yeah.
Right. And they're 3 or 4, a birdie run away from, you're right in the middle of this. You could win this right now. Now, as a fan, you get to decide whether or not you like that, right? You get to decide, do I like this? Because honestly, when I see runaway victories, I turn off. I just go, okay, this guy's winning by 6. I'm going to go and mow the lawn or whatever.
Same.
Yeah. So when it's close, though, and that's intrigued me. I like to see guys playing under pressure. I like to see how they handle it. And so I like to see what happens. That's when cool stuff happens. Yeah. So, yes, if the diluted competition can lead to poor performance over time, no question.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, this has been fun. probably going to divide this podcast up into two. And I really appreciate it. It's a real honor having you come on, Greg. You know, like for instance, for me, being a young golfer, I did like, I looked up to you because I'm short, you know, I wasn't long off the tee. And, you know, you mentioned guys like Corey Pavin, they were my hero, you know, these types of players to try and give me that little bit of I don't have to be hitting it as far as Tiger to be a chance. And I think it really helped me. And I had that competitive bulldog mentality, 1/10 or 1/100th of the talent that you had, but it kind of helped inspire me as a golfer because all my friends were long hitters and I was the shortest hitter. So it was really good to have you coming on, Greg. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
But
thank you, mate.
And lastly, and I'm excited to share this one with everyone, but lastly, so where can people get an online lesson with Greg? Where do they get you?
Oh, you just go to Skillist, but it basically you search for me on Skillist or go to either my Twitter or any of my social media, Twitter, Facebook, or Twitter and Instagram are the easiest ones. I'm on the most. And it's in my profile, and it just links straight to my page. And I'd love to help if I can. It'd be great.
Okay, I reckon people would be crazy not to at least get the information, you know, from you. You know, it's at least get your viewpoint and just get them taking a look. Like, it's crazy in today's day and age that you've got the third best putter strokes gained from the last since it's been measured. You've got an opportunity to get that person to look at your putting for $100. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy in today's day and age, online coaching. For that to happen, that just blows my mind. And someone who would have to travel, fly to America, you know, spend all this time, and actually probably have to spend hours and hours with you to get that same amount of information from you. It's an incredible world that we're living in right now. That's for sure. Yeah,
it's pretty simple stuff. So, and I love to help. So I got hopefully I can help some people if they reach out. Happy to do it.
Perfect. All right, Greg. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Tobe. Cheers, mate.